In Python, a class can have multiple base classes. So here we have this manager class that has two base classes, employee and person. This is what we call multiple inheritance. And similar to multi-level inheritance, it's a source of issues. If you don't use it properly, you're going to introduce all sorts of bugs in your programs. Let's take a look at an example. So in this employee class, we have a greet method. And in this method, we simply print employee greet. Our person class also has the exact same method, but here we print a different message. Now, our manager class currently has no implementation. It simply inherits all the features of the person and employee classes. Now, let's see what happens when we create a manager object and call the greet method. Which greet method do you think is going to get called? Let's take a look. So I'm going to define a manager and call manager.greet. Let's run the program. We get employee greet because we added the employee class first. So when Python interpreter tries to execute this line, first it looks at the manager class to see if it has a method called greet. If it doesn't, it will look at its first base class. Does the employee have a greet method? Yes. So the lookup terminates here. If the employee class doesn't have the greet method, then it will look at the person class. So why is this an issue? Because if tomorrow another programmer joins our team, and for whatever reason, they decide to change the order of these base classes, our program will have a different behavior. So if they move this person class over here and run the program, now we get a different output. So similar to multi-level inheritance, multiple inheritance can create all sorts of issues in your programs. You will end up with classes that inherit features that they shouldn't, like a chicken that flies. So if multiple inheritance is a bad thing, why does Python support it? Well, multiple inheritance is not always a bad thing. It's bad if you don't use it properly. If these classes that we have here, they're small classes and they have absolutely nothing in common, and you want to inherit their features in a separate class, that's perfectly fine to use multiple inheritance. Things start to get complicated when these classes have things in common, like the greet method here. So let me show you a good example of multiple inheritance. Here we could have a class called flyer. It's any object that knows how to fly. So let's add fly here. So it's a very simple abstract concept. Similarly, we could have another class called swimmer. It's an object that knows how to swim. Now, as you see, these two classes are very small and abstract. They have nothing in common. Now we can combine the features of these two classes so we can create a flying fish that knows how to fly and how to swim. So it's a flyer and also a swimmer. This is a good example of multiple inheritance.